there, and maybe not any of it. But Seth and I could tell that that affected George more than he would ever know that affected him. And so then when Joanna was born, that was our first girl. Oh, that was our second girl, because the one that was born dead was a girl. It was our second girl. And the doctor delivered her. Every time anybody would come in the house and walk towards that baby, George would grab them by the pants leg or the dress tail and go to screaming and pulling them back. He didn't want them to go near the baby. Oh, it was just like he didn't want anybody to go near that baby but me. And he didn't want to get away from me and the baby. He just wanted to hang right on to me and that baby. And I realized that it was because he thought that baby would go away too. He thought that baby would disappear too. And so it took months for him to get brave enough to just go on off and play with David and not be concerned about that baby, that it was going to disappear. And then when Joe was 2 years old, Doris was born.
Where were George and Joe and Doris born?
Now, George was born in Gatewood. On his birth certificate, the address is Kennard, but that's where the post office was, right down below Gatewood. But he was born at Gatewood. And Joe was born in Raynell. Because of Seth changing back and forth on jobs so much, we moved 19 times in 15 years. So every time that one job worked out or he quit one job, he would come and say, well, we got to pack up and move. And so it was moving all the time, and my kids were born in so many different places. George was born at Gatewood, and Joe was born at Raynell. David was born at Meadowbridge. And Doris was born in Fayetteville. But when Doris was born, it was right after the war had begun. And Seth was working at the powder plant down near Roanoke. And people were working down there. And he always came home on the weekend. And it was Mother's Day. And I knew that Doris was about to be born, because I had gotten the things and know that she's going to be delivered. So he couldn't go back to work that Sunday night to be able to work on Monday. He stayed over, and Doris was born on Mother's Day. So she was a Mother's Day present. And then when Doris was 3 years old, Dallas was born. He was born while Seth was gone in the Army during the war. He didn't get to see his dad for 4 months.
Where did you live then?
Huh?
Where did you live then?
We lived at Beckwith, just about 5 miles below Fayetteville. He was gone 4 months before he got to see Dallas or Dallas see him. But it was a peculiar thing about that too, because my mother came, stayed with my children while I was in the hospital. When I knew that I needed to go to be delivered, I walked up to the neighbor's house and called the ambulance, and they came and picked me up and took me to Oak Hill. I had to take care of myself to the hospital. And the baby was born there, and of course I didn't get out of there for 10 days. And then Ruth and Odell, Seth's sister and her husband came to pick me up and brought me home. And Mom stayed with the children there at the house. David and George and Joe and Doris until I got home. And through not understanding, through misunderstanding of how children think, the kids were all so tickled and pleased to see the new baby, and he was cute with curly hair, red curly hair. Well, it was auburn, curly hair. None of the rest of the kids had hair like him. But anyway, I was talking to my mother, and I said, well, I have to take him back for a checkup in 10 days. And Doris misunderstood because she's only 3 years old. And she began to act about Dallas just like George did about Joe when she was born, because he thought, oh, somebody was going to take the baby away. Well, Doris thought that I had to take Dallas back and give him back. And we couldn't keep her out of the bed with me. We couldn't keep her off of that kid at all. And she did so much crying, we could not understand it. And when the 3 weeks was up and I had to take him back for checkup and vet checkup myself, she screamed and cried so bad we just couldn't understand what in the world was wrong with her. And it was because she thought I was giving the baby back. And Mom got her up on it. Mom told me she got her up on her lap, got Joe and Doris both up on her lap and sat by the window and told them stories and sang to them. And she sat by the window to tell them that we would be watching for me to come back with the baby. She didn't know what was wrong with Doris either. But whenever she began to tell her that we were going to watch for me to come back with the baby, I rode the bus and get up. The road was just a little bit up above our house. They could see me get off of the bus and come walking down the path to the house. So she sat right by the window with them to watch for me to get on the bus, off of the bus, coming back bringing the baby. And that began to console Doris. And she quit her crying and screaming. But it took her a little while to realize that I wasn't going to give the baby back. It really amazes me how much we don't know and how much that we have to learn through hardships and how we grow through pain and through the experiences of life, how much that we grow. And through all of that, I learned so much about children that I guess that's one reason that I love to work with children. When we moved here and I began to work with the children in this church, West Hampton Baptist Church. It was Copeland Park Baptist Church then. And then it changed its name after the buildings all were moved away from Copeland Park. We changed it to West Hampton Baptist Church. But I worked with 5-year-old children for 7 years, 22 years. And I could understand the pain and hurt and disappointment in children. And I could see one that was worried and fretting about something. And I set myself aside with that one to find out what was troubling that child so that I could help that child. Because I'd had two experiences, one with George and with Doris, because they didn't understand what was going on. And in the families today, I understand that children misinterpret a lot that the parents are saying and doing. And children have grief. And the parents don't understand that the children are going through grief.